This webinar will focus on how the IT4IT standard can help design more effective IT service delivery. So where the ITIL framework focuses on individual processes and defines best practices, today we will look at value streams and the functions and data flow necessary, as for example, the ability for a requirement to deploy a service, and how a particular value stream can be aligned. We will wrap up in about 45 minutes, and then later today you will all receive an email with a link to the webinar, so you have the option to catch up just in case you should miss some of it. And if you have any questions along the way, since this is a webinar where you're not able to talk and ask questions, but at the bottom of your screens there is a Q&A button, and you can ask questions there, and then we will make sure to cover the questions during the session. I hope you will enjoy the content, and now I pass the word over to Lars Kristian.
Yeah, thank you, Marianne. Hi, my name is, as Marianne said, Lars Kristian Larsen. I'm trying to give you a kind of a crash course introduction to IT4IT, and also give you a little bit of the takeaway from our side about how we're doing the IT4IT assessment blueprint and roadmap activity as a kind of a introduction to you, but also hoping that it will give you some also some knowledge that you could use in your own companies. My background is, as Marianne said, is I'm a digital business advisor, also known as service management consultant. I've been in this consultancy business or industry quite some time with the Business Now and with KMD, HP, EMC, and so forth. But I have to admit that during my 5 years at Business Now, IT4IT is the one thing that really got me really interesting, because I think here we have something that is new for the IT service management industry, but also complementary to what we know that we already know. So we'll dive into the presentation now. I wanted to give you a little bit about the IT4IT part. Marianne said good for business, good for IT, but you could equally say good for IT and good for business. This is really something where we need to be aligned with what we need to deliver to the business, but also how we do it in the IT industry and how we do it in the IT delivery situation. So, give you a high-level IT4IT value stream introduction. The value stream introduction is that you could say that we have an environment in the IT that often is a situation with scattered tools, scattered processes, things we do because we always done it, things we are doing because someone told us to do it, and so on. But at the end of the day, we kind of have 4 areas that we need to look into to make sure that we actually have a value stream in the business of delivering services to the business. So the 4 areas of the value stream in IT4IT is that we have the strategy part, a situation that we need to acknowledge and also be aware that everything we do in the IT department and in the business is giving the business services that they need. So IT is an important part of every company today. I haven't really been able to imagine any company today that would be able to say we are able to work totally without any sort of IT. Some clever head at a course said to me, well, what about let's say entertainment industry like a theater? Well, obviously we have that situation at theater. It could be there are actors on the stage, but preparation, making sure that everything works, lighting, everything works. That's also part of being managed by a guy sitting in the back with all sorts of electronic and digital components that he or she needs to work with. So we need to have a situation that we need what is the strategy for the services that we need? What do we need to put into the portfolio? And once we have a portfolio, we also have a requirement to deploy, making it available for the business. So it doesn't matter if if we are making the product ourselves, if we are coding it from scratch, or if we are buying it off the shelf, we need to make sure that what we have in the portfolio and we need in the portfolio, we need to be able to deploy that. So depending on if you're designing, developing, employing, buying, that's part of the situation that we need to be aware of, and also be able to manage. And IT4IT is agnostic about how we're doing it, but obviously working very well in a situation where we have a development situation. So once we have the services that we need, we also need to be in a situation that they are requested. So request to fulfill is that someone is actually using the deployed services, and in that usage situation, we need to find out how we are provisioning. We need to make sure how we are changing it. How are there any situations that people need to pay for the services, or is it a service that is part of the business service package for let's say the employees and so on? So that's an important part as well. And the part that we normally often start with is the area where the services are running in an environment and being used by the business and the users. So the detect to correct is that we haven't been able in the industry to kind of develop the service that would be without any errors and would never go down. Everything can break, and everything we have that can break, we need to fix, and we need to fix it fast. And as you know, in a lot of situations during the last 10 years, it's more and more common that you have a situation, something breaks, and IT gets the blame. It was due to a faulty error, a breakdown, a service that didn't work. You actually have people laying down work and going home on a strike because their IT didn't work on a perfect manner. Just think about the Danish situation with the journals or the patient journals situation. So doctors, nurses are, some of them are really anxious about how they're using it and which risk they are facing in that situation. So this is the value stream, and of course you could say it's not necessarily circular. It's more or less going back and forth. Let's say we have a situation where we're having a service that breaks down, often. We need to find out, is it a question about how it is requested and delivered? Is it a question about how it was developed or bought? Purchased, or is it a situation that it simply didn't fit with the strategy that we have for the organization? So in all these situations, it's not just going round and round, it's going back and forth to make sure that we have the correct value stream to cater for the business. So if you're looking like a situation that you need you need to present that to your management, saying we would like to engage and use the IT4IT standard that is part of the open group delivery they are managing, the opengroup.org. I put in the link at the bottom of the presentation. That there are lots of takeaway there for the IT4IT part. So please visit that on the situation. But again, the value streams that we looked at could be, in other words, say that we are planning, building, delivering, and running services. So the value stream that we looked at could be presented to someone that might not be part of the, of the more nerdy things that we need to manage in the IT organization, but need to put it into a perspective from the business. So planning, building, delivering, and running, that would probably be a situation that any C-level manager, not that they are stupid, they are not, but they have other focuses, but this is what they might be able to realize and also to acknowledge. So if we're looking into that situation, there are some basic deliveries within the value streams that we have that is now that you are able to recognize. We have the strategy, portfolio, developing, testing, offering, fulfillment, the support, and the assurance of that we're able to deliver the services. So this is the things that we need to have an excellence in the IT department to be able to cater for the business. So in in looking at that, you could say that the first item that we might look in if we were building up a company from the bottom up, no, company all new, we're building it for the first time. Obviously, what we need to find out is a strategy put to portfolio. What are we building? Are we building a development company? Are we building place for that we need to purchase like TikTok or whatever you have, or are we building a platform that we need to manage, or simply the IT for a business? We are building up a new IT department. So we need to find out which digital objects do we need in the organization, in the portfolio. And when we have that, then obviously we have a situation that we need to develop it. So we have the requirements to deploy, and we also have kind of the integration, because a lot of situation we're not sitting down and someone with experience in coding is coding it from bottom up. We are integrating different parts. Some that we're taking from the cloud, some we're taking from the off the shelf, some of them we're building ourselves, and we need to integrate and glue them together into a product. And once we're doing that in the development phase, we also might have a situation that we can explore the portfolio, saying, can we do this in another way? Can we cater for the digital object by making sure that we actually maybe made some assumptions that we now, when we got new knowledge, that we can say we can actually build a portfolio another way. So that would be a situation that we would build it up. Once we have built it up, we need to deliver it to the business. They can take it into use. That's the situation where we are creating value in an organization for the company. So there are several ways of doing it. Two of the basic ways is that we simply are deploying it into the environment. So we are deploying it into assurance that now you can use it. Or we can release it into a service offer that you then can request. And that would be a lot of situation where a company is building up offers that you can download from the internet and use in your organization, like Zoom, that we're using it for the moment, or other situations. And you can use it in your organization as well, that you could say, well, instead of everyone getting a Microsoft project package that only 10% is using, we could say you need to say I need the Microsoft project tool, so I can take it from the offer, and then you only have the 10% that really use it, that have access to it, or downloading it, and you only have to pay 10% of the licenses fee that you normally would if you just deploy it for everyone. So now we come to the tricky part as well, because we come to the situation when we are assuring services, we also have a service contract. It could be a service level agreement internally in your organization. It could be a contract with an external customer. In all these situations, we need to be able to support the offerings that we have and that we operate, to make sure that we can correct any issues that we have and get it into assurance again, and you can use it. So this would be a way of describing that for a business purpose. And I said when I started, let's say this was a situation where we're building up a new company from bottom up. But obviously you can also have a discussion saying, what is our pain point? Is the pain point a question within the running situation? We have a situation where the insurance, the support is not functioning well. Is it a question about developing? We are developing new tools and services all the time, but they are often faulty when we come into the assurance support situation. So that would be, let's say, the product to release situation. Or we simply need to find out how much of the services are we actually using, because we are simply paying too much for licenses. That would be the offer situation that we work in. So you would obviously look at what is your pain point, and then work back and find out where is the value stream, how do we get the data, which kind of functions and processes are we using in the company to make sure that we can deal with that specific situation. And that often would give us a bucket list of other things that we need to look into once we kind of made sure that one issue is now being delivered to the company. So let's dive into this. Oh, sorry. Obviously, that was what I'm talking about. We have the evaluation situation that is not just going from run to plan, but going back and forth between the different areas of expertise and excellence we need to manage in the IT organization to give service to the business. So dive into the nerdy part. So this is where I'm getting really excited, because here we have the situation that at this first level, level 1 it's called, of the reference architecture, this is actually the standard. This is the situation where the open group and the open group expertise group, I'm a member of that as well, is going in and looking at all the functions that are the blue boxes that we would assume a company needs to manage. If they are, let's say, developing thing, there are some functions with blue boxes that they need to be able to be excellent in if they are doing requirement to deploy. And within these functions, there are some basic data flow that would say that if you're doing a requirement to deploy, you would probably have a requirements list. So you would look at that evidence, at that kind of artifact and that data, and say, how is that flowing in our company? Is it coming from a policy situation? Is it a part of a backlog item that we're looking at? So you would look at the data flow, and you would look at the issue and the function of how well are we managing that. This level 1 is then divided into level 2 with more details. I'm not going into the level 2 details at the moment, and you should actually, if you're interested, go in to the opengroup.org and download a lot of the takeaways that we have there to go into the lower levels, or maybe even doing training and getting your knowledge better within these areas. But this is the architecture. This is why it is a standard. This is the reference architecture, the standard, saying someone said this is really important. These functions, we need to look into them. That is a standard situation, because, as you know, ITIL is not a standard, it's a best practice. This is a standard. You would look at this standard components to analyze your company. Just a quick, background. How did this standard come from? From a situation that clever men sat, down on a table and then developed it from scratch? Not really. This was actually a standard that was requested by a big company, Shell in the Netherlands, saying to IBM and to HP and to other suppliers, saying, we're buying lots and lots of tools and services and knowledge from you, but it doesn't fit together. Every time you have a problem, you throw another tool at us. We have a problem with the network. You put a network surveillance tool to us. How is that, being integrated with the other one? So you need to give us a blueprint of the architecture that we need in this company to make sure that we get value from the tools and from the processes. If you're not able to do that, we will cancel every assignment we have you, because your tools doesn't work, individually. It only works collectively. So that was the first stepping stone to do this reference architecture. And it was actually that good. And because of a lot of the companies like Shell and DXC were partners with the Open Group, it was suggested to make it into a standard that everyone can use, and not only the companies that kind of requested that part of that. So this is working in organizations, and not only big organizations, also smaller ones, but because it's totally scalable. If you have an IT department with 10 people serving a business with 100 employees, like here in Business Now, you need to excel in this, and also you need to be good at it, because this is supporting our consulting businesses in the organization. So IT4IT is put into layers. So you can say we have the value chains, and we have the standard. That standard enables us to have an IT management capability list. What do we need to be good in, like with the yellow boxes and with the functions? And we have the IT4IT blueprint on the tool side. Which tools are we using? How are we integrating? Are we sure that the data from the monitoring is used in the incident recording? Is it used for the capacity management? All of these situations, if we have tools, they need to be integrated. And supporting that is the IT4IT data model and the reference architecture. So this is the levels that we're trying to use to make sure that we can make a blueprint of your organization and what we need to put into. So this is the takeaway, because we're trying to do a demo, but I cannot demo a standard, obviously, because it depends on the organization that you're looking at. So what I want to present to you and give to you is the approach that we're using in Business Now when we're using the IT blueprint and roadmap activities. So you can take this home and you can do it yourself, or you can ask us to help you with it. Doesn't matter, because this is an open standard, everyone can use this anyway. So we can just as well, tell you how we're doing it, and then you can say, well, that would be interesting, or that's nothing for us. We don't give away something that is a secret. If you're giving away secrets, that probably wouldn't be known anyway, because it's a secret. Sorry, that was a poor joke. But basically, you could say, if you're going into a blueprint and a roadmap, what you want to do is you want to find out where do we have the pain point, and what area do we need to excel in. Well, where do we need to have excellence, and where are the business complaining about what is used? So the architecture is there, for every situation, but we need to have the first preparation part saying that what is the target, what is the scope of this activity. So our mother company, DXC and Frisian, this situation made this activity that was kind of involved in with the Dutch Railway. And the Dutch Railway was going into a new signaling system that was more digital than before. So they needed to make sure that their surveillance really worked, because if something went wrong, all the train would stop at the stations in the Netherlands, and they didn't want to go into that situation. So that was quite a big scope for their situation. But there are lesser scope as well. Let's say a company that's really not getting benefit from the sales of the products that they're having, then you might go into the deployment situation, looking at the offerings that you're having. But let's say you need to do that. So the preparation and planning is a situation where we're looking what part of the blueprint, what part of the reference architecture are we looking at. So once we have that, and we have the communication, the plans and the goals and the approach also to the management, because they have to put in a budget to do this, then you could go into another situation that we need to make an analysis and an assessment of the as-is situation, and we need to identify the improvement opportunities. Where's the pain point? What can we do with it? Is it a data flow issue? Is it a situation that the function is not working? Is it a situation that actually a process, the functions are there, the data is there, it's not used properly, or the right way in the company? That would be the situation. So you evaluate analyze the value stream, you assess and review, and you design the target state. Where do we want to go from this? So the IT4IT target blueprint will then look at the current state, the gap analysis, the improvement opportunities, the IT management vision and status, and then put in the target IT blueprint. What are the functions, the data flow, and the processes that we need to make better? So we need to propose some target states and scenarios. What do we want to put in? And the last tip, part of that is obviously putting in the IT4IT roadmap, because we need to finalize and publish the roadmap, but we also need to put it into action, because this is not just giving you a picture of what's wrong. This would be giving you a picture of what we need to achieve in the future. That would be the next step, making sure that the IT4IT part would actually be able to use it in the company. So that would be an approach that we would use in our organization, depending with our consultancy, depending on the state and the target and which options are we looking at. A few issues that we sometimes see in the market is that some people are getting excited about IT4IT, say now we can throw away everything about ITIL, everything we know, because this is the new black. This is how we do it in the future. And that would be a wrong assumption. You still need processes, you still need people, you still need a description of roles and responsibility in an organization. This would help you make sure that the processes that you may be using from the ITIL best practice actually fits with the functions that you're using and with the tools that you're having in your organization. So it fits together nicely. It's not taking over anything else. Another issue is that sometimes you say, well, we're not able to use IT4IT because we are developing agile. We are agile in our organization, so we're doing the DevOps situation. So this is not really something for us. And again, nothing would be further from the truth, because with the IT value system, we actually go from strategy to run, and that is actually development in between. That is, like DevOps in a nutshell. So this could actually try to make it easier for you to have a situation that you don't have this constant struggle between the dev and the ops, where sometimes the ops is forgotten, or the ops is so rigid that it doesn't really make any dev situation and quick development and deployment possible. So this is actually a better approach to have if you wanted to go DevOps in your organization, making sure that it works. And our colleague from Frisian have a lot of experience in that. If you ever heard Rob Akershaw, that is from Frisian, making a presentation about IT4IT, you often get blown away, because that is really, so many good examples of how to use it. And it actually just made a presentation about DevOps and IT4IT, how that fits together. So that's also a good situation to look at that in YouTube and elsewhere, to make sure that you get the right approach.
Lars Kristian, do we have any examples from customers who have worked with this? I mean, either some success stories where people have actually seen value from this, and also, where are people struggling? I suppose this is not just a miracle tool.
It's definitely not a miracle tool, but it's still a kind of a tool that needs to get kind of traction in the marketplace as such. I think Business Now is the only real pusher for IT4IT in Denmark. And we have really good experience, and are also participating in our mother company Frisian in the Netherlands, helping them with the IT4IT implementation. But we have only been able to use it like in a scattered situation for small areas where we need to look into the functions, and we use this as the architecture as a help to make sure that the process is actually delivering what they need to do. So we don't have a success story in Denmark saying we have a company that made this from A to C.
If you compare again to the ITIL framework,
yep.
What practices from ITIL can you also find in this IT4IT framework?
Well, it's kind of a situation that you have two different focuses on ITIL, and I love ITIL. I'm an ITIL expert as well. We're looking at processes, making sure that when we're doing things, when you have a situation that you trigger a situation, we need to do a change, then you have the change control. That's not a process at the moment, not just a process, but again, that we can make all the activities in that value chain to make sure that the change is performed and we get the result. So that's important, and it's not something that you can say that you can take IT4IT with their change control area and just switch them out. They are complementary to each other. So sometimes when you look at a process that you the activities that you have and the best practice you have from ITIL, sometimes you actually get a better result if you're also looking at the functions and the data flow that you have from IT4IT. So it's complementary, and it's really good complementary situation that you can come into.
Okay. If we go back to your points on DevOps for a moment, how does DevOps best fit into IT4IT? Is it in the development part or the operations part, or is it in both?
Well, in both. It's because that IT4IT is embracing every the value chain, the strategy for the strategy part, the situation that we need to have the pipeline into our development situation. So you have that, and you also know that you're building it to be run in the other situation. So you don't have that situation that the development department have a lot of the deployments that they need to put into place, and they're pushing for that to put that into place, and they have a situation that the operations organization parts of that are not able to take that over. So you can go and use IT4IT to make sure that you have the flows within your functions, and also look at the data that you're getting from the different tools that you're using in the organization. So it's really, it's almost as if I would implement a DevOps situation in an organization that had that, either organically because that's the way they're grown up, or because they're wanting to go in that direction, I would always recommend to use IT4IT to make sure that you have an assessment and a blueprint of your infrastructure, of your architecture, and your tools. So you're getting the right flow from dev to ops, okay, from development to run.
So, I mean, this framework is rather comprehensive, and it's clear that it sort of ties the business situation to the IT. But do you think the business side would be able to understand these models, or does the IT4IT framework also contain, you could say, models that help explain to the business why IT need to ask all these questions?
Yes, and actually that's the main thing that we've been working within the open group expertise group that is working with IT4IT, because we realized, if I may step a little bit back, that this level one, if we were throwing this at the business, they would say, you lost us. I made a presentation 2 years ago at the IT Service Management Forum about IT4IT, and I got the worst review ever. People were saying we don't understand what he's talking about. It was too detailed, all of that. So you could say that basically we have been working a year now to deliver this presentation to make sure that we obviously working with this still within the standard, but that we can make a presentation to the business that they would be better to understand. So obviously we might have been too cocky, 2 or 3 years ago, saying that everyone can understand this. We understood it definitely, but we were not able to communicate it. So the head chief of the architecture, Lars Kristian, we were convincing him, and he really bought into that we need to make another presentation that the business can understand. And actually, Micro Focus, where Lars Kristian is from, at the last open group seminar in Amsterdam, when we were still able to travel, actually they made Micro Focus this with Lego on a big table. It was brilliant. And it was really brilliant. But we need to go into this, and this is we are still working with it. It's actually not really published yet. I hope I don't make any. No, I don't. But still, we need to publish that when we need to get it out to a discussion. And I hope this might be in a situation that we can get more traction, because I appreciate and I understand, because I've been there myself. When you want to have a buy-in from a company or the business need to understand what you're selling. And obviously, I need, as a consultant, to understand this, even on the level 2. Working with the ServiceNow, they are on the level 3 in the situation that they are implementing this in the tools. So they are catering from ServiceNow, and HP, Micro Focus, everyone else is doing the same. So, and we don't even know the level 3. We just know that they are working with the situation to make sure that they are catering within this data flow. But still, this would be the approach that you would try to convince people of. And I think if I had made this presentation at the IT4IT, at the IT Service Management Forum, I might have got better reviews. Probably, or hopefully, or maybe not, but nevertheless. So even though we need to, this part is obviously, if you're a consultant or if you're internal IT in your organization, if you're an architect, if you're a you know, change manager, whatever, in an IT organization, you obviously need to step into this part, because you can buy consultants in ServiceNow that have knowledge in this, that are certified and have worked with that, with the environment that has kind of invented this approach, or you can do it yourself. And again, if you're doing it, you need to convince why you're doing it. You need to obviously get a budget to implement it in an organization, and that maybe be easier for you to sell this picture.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And before we wrap up, if people on this call want to know more or go a bit deeper in the IT4IT framework, what would you recommend?
Well, one approach would be to simply go into opengroup.org, IT4IT, and look for knowledge there. Another approach would contact like us, and have a discussion with the consultants that we have in business now that are knowledgeable in IT4IT and are able to force a discussion, a project. And again, I think, the first approach would be, where do we have a pain point that might be able to help and might be able to be beneficial to look into the functions and the data flow in our organization. So do you have problems with the strategy to portfolio? Obviously, there are some areas that you need to look into there that could help you. And I guess if you would look at your digital object, it would probably be because you are developing them yourself. A lot of companies are coming from the other side of the approach, saying that we have situations with the assurance and support with the run phase. So we need to find out what's the reason for your problems that you're looking at in your organization. And again, it's about making sure that the approach is looking at what is your plan, what do you want to achieve, and what kind of blueprint within your organization are you looking at. And I guess everyone that's on this call will be able to go into opengroup.org, download some of the documentation, and look into how it could be used in your organization. But I guess then the next step would be to get in touch with companies that are able to help you with this. Micro Focus would be one, Business Now would be another. I don't know other in the Danish market that are looking for this, but again, there will probably be others that are able to do that.
And just as a last point, we do actually offer training courses as well. So people could sign up for one of those to get more in-depth knowledge of the framework.
Yeah, and due to the Corona situation that we were actually planning to have a training session, and also Gaming Works just recently together with Fruition made a game with IT4IT game, like the ones that we have with ITIL. So we were planning to push one of these as an open flavor, getting the flavor and also getting the basic input and what IT4IT is, and then maybe deciding from that point that the training IT4IT Foundation training probably maybe a situation that you would look into. Yeah, and we hope to do that here after the summer. Crossing fingers that Corona.
Yeah, it's a little bit difficult to play around digitally.
Yeah, and we didn't want to do this as an offline training course, because I think we need to get into more discussion with the participants within this training course. Yeah. You can do self-training if you want to. That's also possible to buy the books and then just do it yourself.
Okay. I don't see any more questions, so I guess time's up. I would like to thank you very much, Lars Kristian, and I hope for all the participants that you got the information and inspiration that you expected from the webinar.